Good evening. Thank you for joining us on KTN Prime. Tonight it is October the 28th, 2015. I'm Yvonne Okwara Matole. Let's take a look at the highlights before we hand over to John Allen Namu for the latest from Tanzania. But let's take a look at the top stories tonight.
We are asking the President of the Republic of Kenya to take a bold step and reign over those in government who are inept and corrupt without fear or favor or ill will.
After CORD, now the church tells Uhuru to wake up and take charge of the country.
Kwa uwezo nilionao natangaza rasmi kwamba uchaguzi huu na matokeo yake yote yamefutwa na kwamba kuna haja ya kurudia uchaguzi mwingine.
Tanzanian opposition wants entire election cancelled after Zanzibar results are nullified. No need to fly to India. Kenya makes deal with India for medical experts and hospitals. And when culture blocks Medicare, Somalia cancer crisis worsened by traditions.
Thanks for joining us tonight. Our sign language interpreter is Meresha Owiti. We will be linking up with John Allen Namu from Dar es Salaam. The latest numbers there in just a while. But let's start off here. In the country, the church in Kenya has added its voice to the issue of corruption in government with a strong statement to President Uhuru Kenyatta to sack all corrupt officers. The church, under the umbrella of the Evangelical Alliance of Kenya, has also announced the launch of a nationwide campaign to reclaim the country's lost glory. Murimi Mwangi reports.
Since Treasury Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich broke the news that the country was broke and asked Kenyans to brace themselves for higher interest rates, the political arena has been awash with bitter exchanges between the ruling Jubilee coalition and the opposition CORD. And now, the church is the latest to add its voice to the cash crunch issue, which it is now blaming on the spiraling wave of corruption and tribalism across the ruling Jubilee government, adding that these vices have seemingly been also devolved to the counties.
Because we elected you. Take position. Some of those people, sack them. Those who are corrupt, sack them. Send them home. Those who have put money in foreign accounts, let that money be brought back.
Tribalism is entrenched in the country, disguised as devolution.
Under the umbrella of the Evangelical Alliance of Kenya, the church wants President Uhuru Kenyatta to fire all corrupt government officials to stop what they called wanton looting, which they say is going on unabated because President Kenyatta has not fully stamped his authority on corrupt officials.
Graft and wastage is bleeding the country dry, and yet the EACC, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, is crippled, and the law is not aptly applied.
All this remain on the public payroll.
And now, the bishops drawn from across the country have also announced the formation of the National Transformation Campaign to reclaim the country's lost glory. And top on their agenda is a drive to push for the reduction in the number of counties and parliamentary seats to cut on government spending.
We want to see a reduction in the counties to a manageable and viable numbers. Our counties are too large. We want to see a reduction of the number. We want to see or to have the constituencies reduced to a number that is realistic to the needs of Kenyans. It's no need having constituencies just for the sake of having constituencies. We put them there, we can get them out, and we have something realistic.
The clerics say the transformative agenda will be launched on the 1st of December and will be followed by a national dialogue drive to fight tribalism, which they say is the twin brother to the uncontained wave of corruption across the government. Muremi Mwangi, KTN News, Nairobi.
And that story forms the basis of our big question. We are finally hearing from the church taking a very strong stand on matters governance in the country. So our big Q tonight, do you support the church's criticism of the president over corruption? Do you support the church's criticism of the president over corruption? Please send us your comments to the number 22155. Start with a yes or no, followed by a brief comment. Also leave us your name and where you're watching us from. You can also get us on Twitter at KTN News, at Yvonne Okwara, and the hashtag we're using tonight is Church versus Uhuru. We will give you the poll results of that as we carry on with this bulletin. Now, members of the Kenyan opposition today staged a mass walkout from the chambers of the National Assembly in protest over what they called President Uhuru's interference with the mandate of the legislature. The opposition members, led by the minority leader, claimed the president is now making laws by rejecting bills sent to him for assent, only to make recommendations on what he prefers should be law. They took particular exception to the president's latest recommendations on excise duty.
We have seen over the last 1 year that the executive has been, through presidential assent, sending back bills that Parliament passes to back to Parliament with the President's recommendation. And in the Constitution, it should not be recommendations. The President can make his own reservations, not recommendations. So the power to legislate belongs to the National Assembly. And we want to tell Kenyans that it is within our mandate. We are not willing to cede it. We will not cede it, but we have seen it happen. Now in the current bill, and you can see here we are mixed, is both CORD and there are members of Jubilee here because they are very annoyed with what has happened. The current bill that we are talking about, it's about things like juices, the executive sodas, borders, which are used by common man. And through this presidential recommendation, they want to increase the price of sodas, pikipikis, those things that are used by Kenyans. Kenyans are already suffering, and that is what we are against.
All right, that is what is coming out of Kenya's legislature, but we just want to remind you it's been well over 72 hours since Tanzanians went to the poll on Sunday. It's time now to get the latest update from Tanzania. And for that, let's go to John Alanamu joining us from the Nyeri Convention Center, which is the National Tallying Center in Dar es Salaam. John, thanks for joining us this evening. So do we hope that we will get all the final results by tomorrow? It was supposed to be Tuesday, as I recall.
Yes, it was supposed to be Tuesday, but they had given themselves 3 days. The chairman of the NEC this afternoon, that's Mr. Damian Luvuba, retired justice, saying that by 9:30 tomorrow they'll resume counting of the, or rather announcement of the results from about 69 constituencies left. But if you look at it critically, then it's arithmetic almost at this point, and the magic number right now is 198 constituencies out of 264. That will officially mean that it's just a quarter of all the constituencies in this country left before 264 are counted, and it is almost impossible that a quarter of the constituencies in this country would carry enough votes to bring Edward Lowassa back into this. Currently, Edward Lowassa is trailing by 1.9 million votes to John Magufuli's 6.80 million votes, and of course Lowassa Lowassa there having 4.254 million votes. The story was in here and out in Dar es Salaam at the Chadema headquarters and Ukawa headquarters with contestations one way or another. But the bigger story, of course, came from Zanzibar. Zanzibar there having its elections nullified by the Zanzibar Elections Commission. Muhammad Ali has been stationed in Zanzibar and followed the events throughout the day. Now brings you this report.
Taarifa kwa umma ya kufuta uchaguzi wa Zanzibar uliofanyika tarehe 25 Oktoba mwaka 2015. Mimi Jecha Salim Jecha, mwenyekiti wa tume ya uchaguzi wa Zanzibar, katika kutekeleza majukumu yangu niliyokabidhiwa kikatiba na kisheria katika uchaguzi mkuu wa mwaka 2015, nilikabiliwa na vikwazo vingi. Kutokana na hali hiyo, niliona ni vyema niwaite waandishi wa habari kutoka vyombo mbalimbali vya habari na kukupeni taarifa hii. Vikwazo nilivyokabiliana navyo ndiyo moja ya chatu iliyopelekea tume yangu ichelewe kutoa matokeo ya uchaguzi huo ndani ya wakati uliopangwa kisheria. Miongoni mwa vikwazo hivyo ni: moja, kutofahamiana kwa wajumbe wa tume ya uchaguzi wa Zanzibar ndani ya tume na kufikia hatua ya baadhi ya wajumbe kuvua mashati na kuanza kupigana. Pili, ni dhahiri kuwa baadhi ya wajumbe badala ya kuwa makamishna wa tume wamekuwa ni wakilishi wa vyama vyao, na ikumbukwe kuwa vipo vyama vingi zaidi ambavyo havikupata fursa ya kuwa na makamishna ndani ya tume na vimeshiriki katika uchaguzi huu mkuu. Kwa kuzingatia hayo na mengi ambayo sijaeleza, mimi nikiwa mwenyekiti wa tume ya uchaguzi wa Zanzibar nimeridhika kwamba uchaguzi huu haukuwa wa haki na kuna ukiukwaji mkubwa wa kisheria na taratibu za uchaguzi. Hivyo, kwa uwezo nilionao, natangaza rasmi kwamba uchaguzi huu na matokeo yake yote yamefutwa na kwamba kuna haja ya kurudia uchaguzi mwingine.
That wave of electoral news in Zanzibar would crash on the shores of the mainland, at least if Edward Lowassa and Chadema have their way. They are claiming that the events in Zanzibar should affect the mainland's elections because, after all, Tanzania is a united republic. And what affects Zanzibar, the nullification of an election in Zanzibar, should carry over here because, after all, the electoral commissions are the same, but not quite. According to Damian Luvuba, who is the chairman of the NEC, Ben Kitili followed the Chadema campaign today, and here's what they had to say about those elections, among many other complaints.
The electoral body here in Tanzania, the National Elections Commission, has continued to release and announce the results of the presidential race currently ongoing, the tallying process at the Julius Nyeri International Convention Center here in Dar es Salaam, before the chairman of the NEC, retired Judge Justice Damian Luvuba, announces who the winner is of the 2015 presidential race in Tanzania. But at the same time, the Chadema party, under the presidential candidate Edward Lowassa and the Ukawa coalition leaders, have continued to dispute the ongoing tallying process and how the results is being managed by the National Elections Commission. Addressing the press earlier today at the party's headquarters in Ngome here in Dar es Salaam, Lowassa did call on the National Elections Commission to immediately halt the process.
Kutokana na makosa hayo makubwa na ya makusudi yanayofanywa na watendaji wa NEC, mimi Edward Lowassa, mgombea urais wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania, na mgombea mwenza Juma Duni Haji, tunautangazia umma wa Tanzania na jumuiya ya kimataifa kwamba hatukubaliani na matokeo yanayotangazwa na NEC. Kutokana na makosa hayo makubwa, tunaitaka NEC kusitisha mara moja utangazaji wa matokeo ya urais na kuanza upya kufanya uhakiki wa kila wanacholetewa na wasimamizi wa majimbo ambao ushahidi unaonyesha kuwepo kwa vitendo vya hila ambavyo vinafanywa na watu wa NEC.
Over the last 2 days, Judge Luvuba, the chairman of NEC, has continue to punch holes in what the opposition is saying. But the opposition, Chadema, saying that they have hard evidence to show that the forms, the Excel forms that were signed by the various political party agents at the different polling stations do not corroborate with the figures and the numbers that are being announced by the National Elections Commission at the Julius Nyeri International Convention Center, even using the newly elected Member of Parliament for Ubungo constituency to just show that they have evidence against the National Elections Commission.
Ushahidi wa wazi unaothibitisha kwamba utangazaji wa matokeo hayo umevurugwa kwa makusudi na watendaji ndani ya NEC kusaidiana na Chama cha Mapinduzi. Katika maeneo mengi ambako matokeo yameshatangazwa mpaka sasa, kilichoripotiwa kuwa matokeo ya uchaguzi wa rais hakifanani wala kuendana na matakwa halisi ya wananchi. Tutafafanua baadaye kila eneo kwa takwimu. Matokeo mengi yamesheheni udanganyifu, ulaghai na maendeleo kwa lengo maalum la kumbeba mgombea wa CCM John Pombe Magufuli. Katika baadhi ya majimbo ya uchaguzi, kura zetu zimepunguzwa na kuongezwa kwa mgombea wa CCM.
Those which are saying that they have been signed by the polling station, we agree with that, but they didn't follow the forms. They tempered after they reached at their level with their LT. So if they want us to agree, let's go back to the basics. We take each form, here Tume, here our constituency electorate, and we count. And that is what we want to say, that we want to go back to the basic, using hands, each form. We calculated the discrepancy from these forms. We calculated each form how much each has got. So what they are saying is not right.
And as Tanzanians both in mainland Tanzania and the islands of Zanzibar continue to wait to know who will be the 5th president of the United Republic of Tanzania, news filtering out of the islands, Zanzibar, is continuing to shape debate here in mainland Tanzania. Of course, the Zanzibar Electoral Commission declaring the general election in the islands null and void. And the leaders of the UKAWA coalition are now using that to consolidate their argument.
Muungano na authorities zinazohusika ni kwamba wamefuta uchaguzi mkuu Zanzibar, kwa sababu Maalim ameshinda. Huwezi ukafuta uchaguzi wa Zanzibar ukaacha uchaguzi wa Jamhuri ya Muungano. Huwezi ukafuta uchaguzi wa Zanzibar ukaacha uchaguzi wa Jamhuri ya Muungano. Tayari upande mmoja wa Jamhuri ya Muungano, na tuwe makini. Unaposema dola ya Jamhuri ya Muungano, ni kwa mujibu wa katiba ni Tanganyika na Zanzibar. Sasa upande mmoja wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wameshafuta uchaguzi mkuu na wametamka wamefuta uchaguzi mkuu. Sasa kama wameshafuta uchaguzi mkuu upande mmoja wa Jamhuri ya Muungano, upande mwingine unasubiri nini?
Those sentiments by the UKAWA leaders have been refuted by the ruling party Chama cha Mapinduzi CCM. The spokesperson of the campaign secretariat, January Makamba, saying that what is happening in Zanzibar, according to the constitution, does not affect what happens in mainland Tanzania and in the United Republic of Tanzania. In a quick rejoinder, also the chairman of the National Elections Commission, retired Judge Justice Damian Lubuva, also addressing the press, quoting the constitution, saying that they will continue to announce and release results of the presidential race.
Tume ya Taifa ya Uchaguzi inapenda kutaarifu umma wa Tanzania kuwa kuahirishwa kwa uchaguzi wa rais wa Zanzibar hakutasababisha Tume ya Taifa ya Uchaguzi kusitisha uchaguzi wa rais na wabunge wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania na madiwani kwa upande wa Tanzania bara kwa sababu zifuatazo. Kwanza, Katiba ya Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania ya mwaka 1977 ibara ya 74 kifungu kidogo cha 6B inaipa Tume ya Taifa ya Uchaguzi mamlaka ya kusimamia na kuratibu uendeshaji wa uchaguzi wa rais na wabunge pamoja na madiwani.
Tunawahakikishia Watanzania hatutakubali haki yetu ipotee kwa namna yote ile. Tunawahakikishia Watanzania tutapigana mpaka toleo la mwisho kutetea haki yetu. Lakini tunaomba utuwe na amani na utulivu, tusikilize maelekezo yatakayotoka kwenye chama chetu. Tunaomba sana tuendelee na mshikamano na utulivu. Tusipofanya fujo, tukifanya fujo watapata sababu. Tukinyamaza bila kufanya fujo hawatakuwa na sababu. Kwa naomba sana vijana msifanye fujo yote, tuwe na amani, tuwe na utulivu na utengemano, tutii utaratibu wetu.
Edward Lowassa and the Ukawa leaders say they will continue to put their minds together to know what they will do if indeed the National Elections Commission does continue to release and announce the results of the presidential race. The National Elections Commission on its part says it will continue to release those results, saying that they hope to make an announcement by tomorrow. That is Thursday, the 29th day of October 2015. Tanzanians remaining very calm, continuing to debate the issues, but very calm. Ben Kitili, KTN News, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania.
Of course, Tanzania is a republic that does not allow for constitutional challenges to election results. So Edward Lowassa and Chadema do not have any recourse in court should anything happen here that he may not be he may be upset with, and not causing a political storm between the NEC and Chadema. That controversy, of course, was felt only within the confines of the political sphere. If you took a walk down the streets of Dar es Salaam, you wouldn't know that there was that kind of a debate. If anything, you wouldn't know that there was an election at all. Tanzanians getting back on the grind as usual. And Francis Ontomwa took a walk down what is now being called No Drama Dar es Salaam and brought you this story.
It's the normal Halibali in Dar es Salaam. 3 days after going to the poll and the citizens yet to know the presidential results, nothing, however, betrays the serenity in the city.
Tuko sawa tu, tupendi vurugu sio nzuri. Kwa hivyo kila mmoja tunaomba amani, na tulikuwa tunayumba kabla ya uchaguzi, tunaomba tuwe na amani, na Mwenyezi Mungu kweli katujalia, tumechagua, tuko mpaka sasa hivi tuko hali shwari kama unavyoona.
Manzese area is busy with men and women putting shoulders to the wheel in what you will simply call nation building. But even with that calmness, it is evident that many are still holding their breath on that lingering anxiety who will be declared the country's 5th president by the Elections Commission.
Sasa bado tunasubiri majimbo mengine wamalizie leo, kwa sababu wamesema kwamba ikifika muda watatangaza majibu ya urais. Mpaka saa hizi bado watu, ndio maana sasa hivi hata biashara zimekuwa ngumu ujue. Sasa hivi biashara zimekuwa ngumu, kila mtu kimuuliza na kuambia mpaka uchaguzi upite. Tunangoja mpaka wamtangaze rais rasmi, sababu rais bado rasmi hawajamtangaza.
Shughuli za kawaida zinaendelea mitaani kutokana, kila mtu anajua kwamba mbunge wake nani, diwani wake nani. Kwa hiyo bado rais, hata rais hapo bado tupo njia panda, kutokana katika majimbo 262 majimbo yaliyotangazwa hata 150 hajafika bado. Kwa hiyo hapo yeye tupo njia panda, bado haijafahamika vizuri kati ya rais nani, kati ya CCM au wa Chadema.
Sophia Kileo runs this small shop in Manzese. Her shop has been operational throughout the electioneering season and only closed for a few hours on Sunday to allow her cast her vote. She says business may have dipped a little, but nothing major to destabilize her profits.
Inaweza isipande, yani inaweza isinawili sana, kwa sababu mimi naweza nikawa niko kwenye biashara, lakini wateja wangu nao wategemea wako huko mitaani, na wao wana shughuli zao, ama wengine ndio wanafuatilia matokeo kwa kituo hadi kituo. Kwa hiyo kwa namna fulani inaweza isifanane na ilivyokuwa mwanzo.
Campaign materials can still be spotted almost everywhere, serving a reminder that the dust hasn't completely settled. The National Elections Commission has been appealing for patience as they continue to gather results trickling from other regions. There are some who assemble by the roadsides to discuss about the elections.
Unatoka kuja kuhangaika kwa sababu hali ya amani ipo. Ingekuwa amani hamna, saa hizi tungekuwa tumejifungia majumbani. Ila tumetoka kwa ajili ya hali ya maisha kidogo, kujifungia nyumbani siku 2-3 uwezi. Tumekaa siku ya kupiga kula ile, tumeshinda nyumbani, na sasa siku 3-4 tukae nyumbani na kuwa ngumu. Ndio maana tumetoka kuja kuhangaika kidogo kutafuta riziki.
So far, parliamentary and civic seats have been determined, with focus largely staying on the race to State House, whereas Chama cha Mapinduzi and the opposition coalition Ukawa setting a 2-horse race. And propaganda has been in plenty, but most citizens say they are even more alert.
Wapo wanapotosha wananchi kwamba wanataka kama vile uvurugano wa amani, na wakati tayari uchaguzi umeisha na watu washajua, kila mtu atakayemuuliza mwananchi wa Ubungo atakwambia mbunge wetu kubenea. Na hapo magazeti ya Uhuru tena anakwambia nani wa CCM kashinda, anaitwa Masabuli. Hizi habari si za kweli, waandishi wa habari wa redio Uhuru wanaharibu. Wanataka kuharibu mvurugano wa amani katika jimbo la Ubungo.
Almost 72 hours and still counting. The National Elections Commission is yet to calm nerves here in Tanzania. And although nothing is stealing the thunder from that much-awaited presidential outcome, life is slowly sliding back to normalcy, even as citizens petition for a speedier process. Francis Ontomwa, KTN News, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania.
All right, that's the latest from Tanzania. We will link up with them again tomorrow, so please do stay with KTN News for all the updates on the Tanzanian election results. Let's remind you of our big question tonight, and the church today is speaking out against what they call the president's not so good management of corruption within his administration. So we're asking you, do you support the church's criticism of the president over corruption? 22155, start with a yes or no for your vote to count. Remember, this SMS is absolutely free. George Msamali on Twitter, you say long overdue. Gabriel Dolan, you say we need all churches and faiths to speak as one on dictatorship and corruption. Then there will be impact. Anusu Muhehe from Matunda, you say yes, the church is demanded to correct and advise, though Kenyan churches are equally wanting, hence they lack the moral authority to do so. Keep your views coming in. We'd love to hear from you. We're taking a short break right now on KTN Prime. Back with more.
Ahead. When culture blocks Medicare, Somalia cancer crisis worsened by traditions.
Thanks for staying with us. Let's now take you to Somalia, where culture is curtailing the fight against cancer. The World Health Organization estimates that over 3,000 women die of cancer in Somalia every year. But women will not discuss, let alone allow screening, especially of breast cancer. Experts now rate Somalia as having one of the lowest levels of awareness for breast cancer.
It's the Pink Month, a month set aside to promote breast cancer awareness. But here in Somalia, it is not so pink. On the streets of Mogadishu, there is hardly any sign of a breast cancer campaign, and the diagnostic centers are deserted. Somalia's health ministry has not documented any cases of breast cancer, but the World Health Organization tells a totally different story. According to May statistics by the WHO, at least 3,200 women die of cancer every year in Somalia. Of these deaths, breast cancer is the leading killer, accounting for 19% of the deaths. But talking about cancer, more so breast cancer, is near taboo here.
If the mother or the sister, they have a lump, they hide. They don't tell to their husband, they don't tell to their brothers or their sisters or their mothers. So what happens now, they keep that lump for some time till it becomes attached to the cloth, and they become started discharge.
Somali culture places sanctity on a woman's body, something that has fueled the spiral of silence about breast cancer. Add that to the fact that most oncologists in Somalia are male.
Awareness is really low. We are coming up with ideas, and that's where me as a clinician came in, because the patients, they are more comfortable when I examine them, since I'm a female, as compared to them being examined by a male doctor.
This diagnostic center in Mogadishu only attended to a few dozen women in 1 year.
We have seen about, since 1 year, we have seen about around 40 or 30.
Medical experts say Somalia has one of the lowest levels of awareness for breast cancer, but general knowledge about the deadly disease is steadily rising. And doctors here will tell you the country has recorded all types of cancer,
including breast cancer of the tongue, esophagus, colon cancer, bladder, and also we have seen prostate and breast and even CNS, tumor of the brain.
The relative peace in Somalia has seen efforts to try and revive the health infrastructure by the federal government. But with most victims shying away from seeking medical help for fear of intrusion into their privacy, there is little early detection, one of the most crucial steps in the management of the disease, further reducing the survival chances for women. Rita Tinina, KTN News.
Kenyans may no longer have to travel all the way to India to seek medical treatment if a move by President Uhuru Kenyatta to have specialized institutions set up here in Kenya sails through. The Kenyan head of state held talks with India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi in a move meant to lower the travel expenses for most Kenyans seeking medical treatment in India. The discussions to have India's staff establish premises in Kenya were held on the backdrop of an international forum for heads of state in New Delhi. Uhuru Kenyatta exuded confidence that the move would go a long way in not only promoting medical tourism between the two nations, but also lower the travel costs incurred by most Kenyans who make their way there in search of medical treatment.
Information, because sometimes before I tell them. But I was also told them.
Sectors, I don't know, Your Excellency, whether you've met him.
Very much, Excellency, distinguished guests.
I believe that there exists an opportunity to expand that number from 10,000 to well over possibly 100,000 by developing those facilities in Kenya, not as attracting those who cannot afford. You know, they can afford the medical, but they can't afford the cost of travel, they can't afford the cost of accommodating their families, and etc., making it much more difficult. But if these facilities, you develop them at home, you would be able to triple your business, and it is beneficial to you, it is beneficial to us. So we would like you to consider that.
A very good evening and thank you all for keeping it KTN. My name is Joy Doreen Bira. Let's take a look at business. Things are looking up for Imperial Bank, and if all goes according to plan, it could be reopened as early as November. This follows a meeting between the Central Bank of Kenya and top shareholders of the bank to strategize on how to get the bank back on its feet. The shareholders are expected to inject new capital into the bank, but the Central Bank is said to have ruled out bringing on board new investors. On the cards would be the conversion of shareholders' deposits in the bank into equity, with 5 billion shillings said to be the preferred target. The challenge for both the regulator and the bank, however, remains avoiding a bank run. It's reopened, and sources familiar with the meeting say that among the recommendations by CBK are that only small depositors with 500,000 shillings or less will be allowed to withdraw their funds. Large depositors will, however, only have access to 5% of their funds, with the rest staggered over a 2-year period. The Central Bank is also proposing changes to the bank's board of directors and is set to be pushing to have a sit on the board for an unspecified time frame. Imperial Bank shareholders are expected to weigh the options presented by the Central Bank before committing to the guidelines that would fast-track the reopening of the bank. On Tuesday, Imperial Bank's board moved to court, suing 20 companies and individuals of stealing 34 billion shillings from the bank. And moving on to more business, Kenya has been ranked the third most reformed economy globally in the 2016 Ease of Doing Business report compiled by the World Bank Group. This new position saw Kenya rise 28 places, up from position 136 in 2014 to position 108 in 2015, signaling a changing business environment in the country. Here's more on that story.
With a fast-growing middle class supported by an ever-increasing demand for goods, Kenya has been on a growth path in the last decade.
Overall, therefore, I am pleased to announce that Kenya is now the third most improved country globally on the 2016 Doing Business ranking by the World Bank.
And so for Kenya to be seen as a top 3 most reformed countries in the world, it's an excellent report.
As evidenced in this year's Ease of Doing Business, the country has been keen to foster the right business environment by instituting reforms to attract the much-needed investments.
The road ahead is more challenging and more needs to be done to attain our goals, being our goal of being amongst the top 50 globally.
Among the areas that Kenya made significant reforms in, as per the report, is in business registration, connection to electricity, registration of property, as well as increased access to credit.
We have simplified the process of participating in government debt. We have eliminated matters of filling forms, and it's just enough.
Let's break down the numbers further. It now takes 35 days to get electricity connected compared to the previous 110 days. It takes 61 days to register property compared to 72 days, and access to a loan has improved significantly from position 116 to 28.
We have done some remarkable things. Yes, we still need to do a lot more, but those are the areas that we have made some good progress.
The International Finance Corporation's Regional Director, Omar Said, noted that this was tremendous progress from Kenya despite the nation facing headwinds emanating from high interest rates and exchange rate volatility. However, the IFC noted that all was not rosy. Kenya still lags behind in enabling investors in the construction sector. The report reveals that issuance of construction permits takes 146 days compared to last year's 128 days. The report shows Kenya ranked better compared to some of its peers such as Uganda and Tanzania, as well as Nigeria. Rwanda moved 16 places down to position 62 compared to its previous position 46, while Singapore retained top spot in the world as being the easiest place to start and run a business.
And we commit, and Adan is here, that next year we must come down below the 100 mark.
The ease of doing business survey is a measure of a country's competitiveness benchmarked with other global economies. It measures regulatory quality and efficiency across 189 countries based on a comprehensive criterion. Abiagina, KTN Business.
Coffee farmers in Nyeri County are expected to benefit from a new coffee milling plant that will be set up at Wambugu Agricultural Research Farm. The new mill will facilitate the milling and selling of the coffee both to local and international markets. The Nyeri cooperative societies have also come together and agreed to mill their coffee through the new mill once it is set up. KTN's Karanderi has that report.
Nyeri embarked on a process that will see the product milled and branded as Nyeri Coffee before marketing it both locally and internationally. The new milling plant is set to be constructed at the Wambugu Farm Agricultural and Research Center.
We want to mill our coffee and actually do value addition and actually market in as a finished product both locally and if possible internationally.
The committee will be chaired by former Othaya Giant Coffee Cooperative's chairman Newton Derito.
Because we have a case study of Othaya where we have done it before, where we have very good and many marketers, many buyers from the outside world, and we believe that once we do this as a county, every farmer in this county will be able to enjoy the good prices.
Othaya Cooperative Society paid its farmers the highest at 80 shillings.
We are putting in a lot of effort in terms of increasing production because without production we cannot get far.
Nyeri coffee, that is said to be the black gold of Mount Kenya region, is of great quality according to stakeholders. Foreign buyers had been invited by the county government to buy this coffee.
In the past few years, together with KCCE, helped out getting a lot of direct sales to different clients in Europe. And with the help of Lucy Moromba and Phyllis, this has been possible. At the moment, we're looking at how do we expand our engagement here.
Though there have been problems with this new system,
they have offered the prices below our expectations, and for that reason, the resolution was, from now onward, our coffee should not be marketed by the KCCE.
KCCE Director Lucy Murumba said they will ensure the provision of direct market was realized, adding that the reduction of the value chain would lead to more returns to farmers.
We are excited that they are putting up their own mill
because it means now they'll participate more in the value chain, all the way from the nursery to the farm to processing.
If the laid out plans to construct a new coffee milling plant in Nyeri County fall into place, then the tidings for coffee farmers will definitely change for the better.
You all know, despite all the noise that you have been hearing in Nyeri, we have been able to achieve very good prices in Odaya, 80 shillings a kilo. I used to say this, everybody is telling me, oh, governor, oh, this is not possible. Umekuwa doubting Thomases, imefanyika huko Odaya.
This comes at a time when the Nyeri County government has relaxed its stance on milling. Earlier, the Nyeri County government had announced that milling would be done through pulling from different factories via the Kenya Cooperative Coffee Exporters. Now, individual millers can mill their coffee so long as they adhere to the stipulated rules and regulations by the county government. Carol Nderi, KTN News, Nyeri.
The Financial Report.
And well, that's it for KTN Business. But for more news, log on to our website, ktnnews.com or standardmedia.co.ke. My name is Joy Doreen Bira. Moses Wahisi is up next with KTN Sports.
A very good evening it is, and welcome to today's edition of KTN Sports. My name is Moses Wahisi. Starting us off, Gor Mahia's top scorer Michael Olunga was in the mark with an important goal to help Kogalo secure 3 important points against Western Stima with a narrow 1-0 win in their midweek Kenyan Premier League match. Western Stima started the tie on an attacking spree, but the efforts were well dealt with the Green Army full soldiers. In the first minute of the added time, Olunga headed in an earlier Bondo cross to break the hard-fighting Western Stima. A dominant Gor Mahia will play Moroni in their last tie of the season as they look to finish the season without losing a single match.
A really tough game. You know, Stima gave us a tough game in the first leg and defended well in the first leg. And for periods of the time we defended well, but we had to just have composure, have patience, and we knew eventually we'd get a chance and we would take it.
Actually, it has been a very dominant display by Gor Mahia, and maybe they're going to finish this season without losing a single tie. Only one match to go for them. Now, second-tier football Kenya Federation Premier League clubs have resorted to continue with their league boycott. This comes after the Football Kenya Federation handed over walkovers to teams which, according to them, did not show up against absent opponents in the last weekend fixtures. The FKF Premier League administrators are also perturbed with the number of teams that will be promoted to the top league next season.
Hakuna mtu anajua ni watu wangapi wanapanda na watu wangapi wanashushwa ngazi kutoka ile ligi kuu. Hizo ndio baadhi za zile conditions tuliwapa ili watu waambie ni nini haswa tunachezea. Kwa sababu sasa ni mechi 3 to the league na hatujui. Mara unasikia mtu mwingine anasema tunachezea timu 6, mwingine anasema 4, mwingine anasema 2 na karibu tumalize ligi. So hilo swala ambalo unauliza ndio hata sisi tunauliza. Tunataka tujue. You see, as far as we are concerned, there are no matches over the last weekend because we boycotted the league. So we don't know on what basis matches and points were being awarded. We really don't know. In view of that, we've decided to continue with our protest, and until they heed our demands, we'll not take it to the field again.
There's a Kenyan football drama, and I'm sure that drama continues. Sadly, it seems that needs to be curbed and actually make the players nurtured so as to ensure that the talent is there for our country. But every sportsman's dream is to wear the national team colors in the disciplines of speciality. For 22-year-old Calvin Omanga, who plays for Palos FC, his dream seems to have come earlier than he expected. But for him, it has all been about hard work and more hard work. Victor Gale filed the following report.
Armed with his call-up letter to the national team, Harambee Stars, Palos FC's Calvin Zomanga gets a word of advice from his coach, Paul Ogai. The contents of the letter bear what to him is a dream come true for a 22-year-old footballer who is yet to be signed by Kenya's top league clubs. Omanga is part of a provisional squad of 31 players consisting both local and foreign-based players set to start preparations for the 2018 FIFA World Cup qualifiers against Cape Verde and the Sekafa Senior Challenge Cup to be held in Ethiopia later in the year.
Wale ambao niliwaelezea kwanza ilikuwa ni wazazi and most likely father, because father huwa anasema nime-imitate career, nimechukua career yake, so yeye alifurahia akaniambia, "Oi kijana, unaweza go ahead."
Palos vile iko na vijana pia ambao pia bado wanaona kama mwenzao Omanga ameitwa national team, hao pia bado wako na nafasi, kwa sababu saa hii timu nyingi zitaangazia, wale wakufunzi pia wataangazia sana hii timu ya Palos.
Having begun his soccer career while at Kisumu Day, Calvin's never gave up with the sport, and after clearing school he featured for Bondo Rangers in Lakeview before signing for Palos FC in 2014, then as a fullback. He further feels his prowess during the Go TV Shield match against Gor Mahia, where he scored 2 goals, is what caught the eyes of coach Bobby Williamson.
Such a wonderful boy, very humble, focused. One boy who listens, and one thing I assure you, somebody you would see and know that he's going far.
Tulianza na 2014 alikuwa fullback too, but niliona he has a lot of speed. Tukaamua, nikaambia coach, tulikuwa na coach wa Gor Mahia kitambo Martin Midega. Ndo sasa tukasema tumpeleke mbele, tumuone mbele pia itakuaje.
Other players making national team debuts include Zoya United striker Mark Bikokwa, Chris Panas Onyango of KCB, Ulinzi defender Omar Mbongi, and Gor Mahia winger Innocent Wafula. Victor Gale, KTN News, in the county of Kisumu.
World Rugby and the organizers of the 2019 tournament in Japan unveiled their logo and also announced the dates for the 2019 Rugby World Cup matches. The logo is said by the organizers to emphasize unity, and it comprises the rising sun with the Mount Fuji, a Japanese symbol. And with that, we wind up for today's edition of KTN Sports. My name is Moses Wahisi. Have a lovely night.
Question tonight as we wind up our bulletin here on KTN Prime. We'd asked you whether you support the church's criticism of President Uhuru Kenyatta over his handling of corruption in his administration. The poll results are in. We want to show you that now. Majority of you support the church. Those numbers are at 88% of you say yes and just 12% say no. Waidera, watching us from Gatundu, you say, yes, I support the church. They've finally seen the light. God put all of us here in this beautiful country. To be tribal is no holiness, and we must be holy to see God. Same with corruption. I want to read another one. Yes, this is from Agango in Muhoroni Township, Kisumu County. You say yes, but it's late in the day. They're the same ones joining prayer rallies and not telling the king when he is naked. Let them wake up more. Jeffrey from Ruai, just one last one, says no, corruption is everywhere. Even in the church, we are witnessing it. Only God will take this cup from us. Those are your views tonight. We thank you for watching and thanks for participating in our bulletin tonight. Our sign language interpreter was Maresha Owiti. I'm Yvonne Okwara Matole, wishing you a good night, but do stay with us on KTN News because Joy Doreen Bira is up next with Africa Speaks. Good night.
This is KTN. Welcome home.